Good morning. Welcome to this unit. My name is Madam Victoria, and this unit is EHS 483, industrialization. Then the first topic is development of industry. In this topic, we learn about the development of industry and impact in the world. Then the objectives. By the end of this unit topic, you should be able to define industrialization. Now, what is industry? Explain sources of energy, the sources of energy used, such as wind, the early and also the later sources. Then you outline the uses of metals in Africa, how metals were used in Africa. Then a simple introduction. This is the definition of industrialization. It's a process of transforming economy primarily based on agriculture and manual labor into one dominated by manufacturing, mechanized industry, and technology. It involves the widespread establishment of factories, production of facilities, and use of machinery to produce goods and services on large scale. Then we now look on the features of industrialization. Now the characteristics. What are the characteristics of the industrialization? There was the mechanization. This was the use of machines which replaced the human labor, as it is cheaper when used in large-scale farms. Then there was also urbanization, the movement of people from the rural centers to urban areas. This was more for people went to seek jobs in towns. Then industrialization often led to growth of urban areas as people moved from rural areas to work into the factories and industries located in cities. Industries were majorly located in towns. That's why people moved from the rural areas to the urban areas. Then there was also specialization. Industrialization led to division of labor and specialization in various industries, resulting into increased production and economic growth. Goods and substances could be produced in high amounts as compared to the human labor, because human can get tired, but machines, they can't get tired, hence they produce a lot of goods as compared to the human labor. There was also the mass production, the ability to produce the large quantities. This is because machines, they can't get tired and they will produce more goods as compared to human labor. It led to cost reduction and availability of more affordable products. So due to the mass production of goods, now this is when the supply is more, the demand is low, but when the demand is high, the supply is low, then the price should be high. So now when the industrialization began, there was so much production, hence there was more supply, demand became low, hence the goods became cheaper, hence they were more affordable. Then there was also the technological advancement. Industrialization typically drives technological innovation, leading to advancements in field of transport, communication, and emerged energy production. Then there was also the economic growth. It led to important economic growth as it creates job, increases productivity, and expands the production and export of goods and services. Then we look at the earliest sources of energy. There were 3 sources of energy. The earliest sources of energy, which people could use because there were no machines or rather anything else to be used. So they had 3 sources of energy. What produced energy? They had the wind, water, and wood, which were the sources of the energy to be used, or rather they can be called a traditional form of energy. Then we look at the first one, it was the wind. Early human civilization enhanced the power of the wind for various purposes. Wind was utilized in the form of windmills, wind-driven sails on boats, and even simple devices like wind chimes. Now, wind was being used in windmills, and also for sailing of the boats. They relied on the wind for their boats to sail, to move from one point. So it was like a means of communication here. And even simple devices like the wind chimes. The wind chimes were used for soothing sounds, but they served as early wind indicators. They were used to indicate wind because there were no substances like the wind socks. Now the wind chimes could indicate the direction of the wind. Let's look at the uses of wind. Wind was used in tasks like the grinding grains, pumping water, and sawing wood. It was used for grinding grains, like a way of harvesting grains, and pumping water from, I guess, from rivers and all that. And wind was transformed into mechanical power to perform these activities. No, it was not just a simple wind that we see being blown. It was transformed in a mechanical power for it to carry out the activities, which are the grinding of winds, pumping water, and even sawing wood. Then wind-powered sails on boats allowed for more efficient and faster transportation over water. Wind could be used for transporting substance. It was a means of a transport, whereby I've said they relied earlier for their boats to sail. So they were sailing on oceans or even rivers, big rivers. Then wind chimes were used for their soothing sounds, but they served as an early wind indicator. Soothing sounds, like they could use them for direction of their wind, like because they lacked these tools for measuring, or rather for checking the direction of the winds. So they used the wind chimes to look at the direction of the winds. We look at the we look at the disadvantages of winds. Wind, it was not easily reliable source because sometimes you can't guess when at what particular time will the wind blow, because wind blows at any time. The direction, even the wind chimes, could be difficult for them to regulate the direction of the wind, and it was difficult for them to know the direction or even the movement of the winds. Then we look at the other source, water. Water is energy. Water was an early source of energy enhanced by human civilization. Water wheels were used to capture the energy from flowing waters in rivers and streams. Streams are just a flowing water. Then they used these water wheels to capture the energy, which could be used in various sources. Let's look at the uses of water as an early source of energy. It was used to grind grain as a critical early process in agriculture. Water was also powered a variety of machines. It was used as a coolant. Even today it's used as a coolant in machine. It cools substances. Then the controlled release of water through canals and channels helped to irrigate farmlands. They could use the canals, like the canal. For example, in Mesopotamia, they used a canal for irrigation of their plants, which enabled, for example, the Shaduf Canal, which was majorly used by the Egyptian for irrigation of their crops. This enhanced or even stimulated growth of crops. Now these were the uses of water. And now we look at the wood as an early source of energy. It was a fundamental source of energy for early humans, used primarily for eating, cooking, and providing lights. So wood, they used it in form of now the fire produced by, they could light up. It was invented earlier by the Homo erectus, they could use the fire for lighting up whereby they started now cooking their food. Now this was now a source or even use of wood as an earliest form of energy, because they could also use the wood as a means of carrying out their crops. For example, you balance them between two substances. Hence, that was a use of wood as an early source of energy. And that's the end of the class. Thank you.